to put it mildly. That's right. Thank you, JR. All right. Let's start this real news. Yep. Here we go. Yes. No question about it. All right. Oh, what's this? Okay. We're going to and that. All right. All right, folks, we are live in 4 minutes. 4 minutes. The latest. Yep. Agreed. We are live. Real news. Yep. Not everyone likes the real news. I'll tell you that much. Now, remember, this is Andrea Lemaire. It's always better when Andrea Lemaire is here. And she is. This Brenda. Hola, Tammy. There's Lynn Miller, Miller Monday. Lynn made it yesterday. She was right. There's Joan Hoyle. There's Linda, thinking of you. And little Ryan. Now, folks, we will be live late this afternoon. Late this afternoon. Good weather. They're expecting a big crowd. There's a anti-ICE demonstration in Providence, and we are planning full coverage, but it's going to be late. Now, I think this will supersede road patrol. Some people don't understand that. Sometimes we cover something and we're there for hours. Then people say, well, you still riding tonight? Well, no, we were just live for how many hours? So the answer is no. There's Kelly. Good afternoon. And Catherine. All right, folks, we're live in just 2 minutes. Bring you the latest. Let me just find where I am. Here I am, Lord. Where am I? Yep. There we go. Yes. Okay. We are standing by, and JR is going to give us the go-ahead. And then we shall commence our broadcast. Speaker Sakachi weighing in on Rep Sanchez now. Yep. It's interesting the people that are ignoring the story. But also, we'll break it down for you, folks. It's all coming up. Yep. We are just moments away. We are live right now on Facebook, in X, formerly Twitter, in YouTube. And then also, obviously, you can listen at the website, depetro.com. And we're also live on AM 1380 and 99.9 FM. But you can listen online at the website, wait a minute, depetro.com. All right, so we are standing by. We're going to be live in just a moment. And then we'll begin our broadcast. And we're going to be joined by Stephanie Murphy, who's going to break down the legal aspects of some local stories. One being the situation with, yeah, that's right. I declined the field sobriety. Can I get an Uber or a pizza? That's right. But we'll go through that. And then also, I want to also clarify what's happening right now with Mark Perkins is it's a bail hearing on whether or not he's going to receive bail. I understand. It is confusing because I did see the team you can't trust. I did see. There we go, folks. At 1:06, I see sunshine on this Tuesday. It's February 4th. This is the real news, folks, on this Tuesday, February 4th. And again, remember, you can listen to us on AM 1380, 99.9 FM. Now, you can always listen at the website, depetro.com. On the website, we have the Cranston police statement. We have the body cam footage, the DUI arrest of State Representative Enrique Sanchez. I think Channel 10 tried to catch up with him last evening. They were unsuccessful. But you can see the footage. You can see the police report. It's all right there at the website, which is depetro.com. But, folks, also right now, the real news. We are live on Facebook, we are live on X, and we're also live on YouTube. Now, remember, at the website, excuse me, DePietro.com, that's a way we have links to all of our social media. We also have put up video of Road Patrol Live. We also put up video like this. Now, the body cam footage we have on the YouTube page, but there are links to it. There are links to it simply because, you never know with some of these. Sometimes they're all different. They're all different. What YouTube allows, Facebook may not allow. But thus, it's all linked right there at DePietro.com. Now, before we're going to talk with Stephanie Murphy of Marin, Barrett, and Murphy. And one of the things I want to mention, and we're going to talk about, I did see one of the television stations put the Mark Perkins hearing continues with the Charlotte Lester case or trial. It's not the trial. This is all just the bail hearing. This is whether or not he's going to make bail. I did, as I mentioned, I popped in yesterday, and the big story I thought out of that, and they're very meticulous in going through, and you certainly get a sense of what the case is going to be, and they do everything from Charlotte apparently went to Thunder Mist to see for dental work, and they took a photo, so they have the dental implants. So they have that, and then they have the hunter that found, tragically, but her remains back in November. Then they have the medical examiner, and then they piece together, that it was in fact her, where she was last seen. But I thought the most interesting part was, and I talked about this, was the Cumberland Farms footage. You see the accused Mark Perkins going in there that Tuesday morning. He looks disheveled. He's apparently looks like blood on his hands, and he is having a full conversation. And it was like 15 minutes long. Now, you can't hear it, but the clerk is there, and she recants what she believes and remembers what he was saying. And then we also learned that when the police went to Cumberland Farms, they retrieved that video, and then they spoke to her. But I want to remind you folks, listen, whether it's a situation like that or whether it's Rep Sanchez, Marin, Barrett, and Murphy, team of criminal defense lawyers, 50 years of combined Rhode Island criminal defense experience, your fight becomes their fight. Put the full weight of the firm behind every case. You can call them 401-228-8271. Again, look for them on Facebook. I share the Facebook page, Marin, Barrett, and Murphy Law Firm. They're also on Instagram. And folks, joining us right now from that very law firm is, in fact, it's Stephanie Murphy. Good afternoon, Stephanie.
Good afternoon, John. How are you?
Very well. Stephanie, why don't we start off, if you don't mind, with the high-profile DUI arrest of State Representative Enrique Sanchez. So sometimes I think it's helpful in going through kind of the do's and don'ts. Again, this is to protect his rights. But why don't we start off, if you don't mind, with he refused the chemical test. And then according to the police back at the station, according to them in the police report, he admitted he had been drinking. I'd be curious to hear some of your thoughts on this, and we'll walk through it.
Yeah, so this person was actually charged with refusal to submit to a chemical test and also driving under the influence. So he got charged in district court with a DUI and then in the traffic court with a refusal charge. So he's facing two different charges in two different courthouses.
As you look at this, did he make the right decision? He's pretty chatty with police, where he was coming from, does provide his license. If you were there quarterbacking, what was he legally obligated to do, and what did he maybe necessarily not have to do?
So it's really interesting now with all the body cam footage and everything that's available. A DUI without readings, as it is in this case, is actually a crime of opinion. It's a police officer's opinion that this person shouldn't be behind the wheel and it's unsafe to operate. So with the body cam footage, it kind of gives either more substance to what the police is saying or more substance to what a client of mine would be saying. So in this instance, they have body cam footage from the scene and also body cam footage from the station. So it's just interesting in terms of you're not required to do anything, but really cooperate with the police. But cooperation doesn't mean submitting to field sobriety tests. It doesn't mean submitting to a portable breath test on the side of the road. And it also doesn't mean submitting to a chemical test at the station. But by refusing to do that, you can actually get charged with other crimes if you refuse to do some of those.
Stephanie, in the police report, they mentioned back at the station that he admitted to them that he had been drinking. Is something like that, video of that, is that admissible in court?
Well, it is. It also depends when he makes that admission to drinking. If it's prior to arrest, then that can be used for probable cause to arrest him. If it's after, we need to look at whether or not he was Mirandized or given his rights to see if that statement would come in. But like I was saying before, he is charged with a criminal charge of a DUI and the refusal on the side of the road of the PBT test or refusal at the station. Those are both civil charges. But everything comes into play in terms of what comes in, and that would be the judge would be the gatekeeper of what comes in and what doesn't come in during the trial.
Now, Stephanie, and again, folks, speaking with Stephanie Murphy, folks, Stephanie, we saw what happened when he declined, which is his right to do the test. But what would have happened? It's possible he could have blown .07. I was riding with police one time, pulled a guy over. He agreed to the test. He blew a .07 and boom, he went off on his way. But what would have happened? What would we have seen play out if he had agreed to the test and then had failed the test?
If he had agreed to the test drawn at the side of the road or agreed and failed the test at the station?
Both, either one.
Okay. So yeah, on the side of the road, if he agreed to take the test and he blew over, he would have been put immediately in handcuffs. If he declined the test or blew under the test, then it would be the officer's opinion whether or not they're going to go forward on an arrest. An officer can make an opinion that you're driving under the influence of alcohol or drugs, prescription, non-prescription medication, and the test on the side of the road would only show a blood alcohol reading. It wouldn't show him being under the influence of any substance. So even if he blew under the legal limit, there is a chance that the officer, in his opinion or her opinion, would think that he was under the influence of drugs and therefore also put in handcuffs.
Now, he is a state rep, and that's why this is a higher profile. Plus, it happened on a Monday, kind of a slow news day. But going forward, I mean, this certainly doesn't seem like a jail case. We know it can take twists and turns, but how would you potentially see this playing out in the court system?
Yeah, since he was charged with a DUI and also refusal, most of the time what happens is if a client wants to resolve the case, they could maybe admit at the traffic court, and that would give them a civil charge. It wouldn't be a criminal charge. They would face a longer loss of license and a bunch of other sanctions. But in most circumstances, the DUI would get dismissed. And what that does is that ensures that there's no criminal record moving forward. I'm not sure if that would be an offer in this case. That would be up to Cranston and the attorneys who work for the city of Cranston. But typically in a case where you're charged with a DUI and a refusal, some people think about admitting to the refusal charge in order to get the DUI dismissed.
Now, one more question on this. Let's just say, just so people understand their rights. Now, this is an individual allegedly, and it would seem, Stephanie, that his political damage is almost more severe than whatever penalties he may face within the court. But let's just say you have someone who was very tired and maybe had taken some medication that didn't agree with them. And the police, same thing, pull them over. Hey, granted, it's late 3 a.m, but what is the basic obligation that the person has to do? And what I mean by that is someone does not have to submit to the test, and back at the station, other than cooperating, answering questions, they could decline. You know, the police say he then admitted he was drinking, but if it was just someone else, they could say, I'll answer all your questions, but I'm not taking part in the test. I'm just curious if you could walk us through that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we get many phone calls in terms of, a client calling us at the time of the police stopping. They're worried because maybe they had been drinking and stuff like that. My typical advice for someone in that situation is, if they are concerned that, there could be a possible DUI, is to politely decline taking any field sobriety tests. Make sure they maintain their balance, get out of the car right, have their license and registration, and then, politely decline the field sobriety tests. There's a lot of reasons why people don't do well on a field sobriety test, and they don't always have to do with somebody being intoxicated. There could be medical issues, physical issues, and also just attention issues. You're nervous on the side of the road with police officers and lights. So there's a lot of reasons why people fail a field sobriety test. And a lot of times it doesn't have to do with intoxication. So I guess my advice to anybody would be moving forward is to decline, any tests, decline the field sobriety test, decline the PBT, and then also decline the chemical test at the station. But under Rhode Island law, you are entitled to get a test at your own expense. So you are, after being released, able to go get a blood draw or something if you wanted your own test in addition to any tests administered by the police.
Folks, again, we're speaking with attorney Stephanie Murphy. Now, Stephanie, also high profile right now, the bail hearing continues. Now, this is Mark Perkins. He is charged first-degree murder of Charlotte Lester. How extensive is this bail hearing? How long would something like this typically go on?
Yeah, so for any charges of murder in the first degree, it's almost an automatic hold without bail, typically. And that's what happened with him, with Mark. When he got arrested and charged, he was held without bail. So his attorney is able to choose whether or not they want to go to a bail hearing and hear the evidence that the state has against their client and try to make arguments for bail. So this is just a bail hearing, and bail in Rhode Island, a bail hearing there's two parts of a bail hearing. The first is whether or not the facts and the evidence and the witnesses can support a hold without bail on the charge. And the second part of a bail hearing is actually a tier 2 standard, where you look at, the flight risk, the chances of him being out on bail and committing a new crime like this. So this bail hearing is very important for Mr. Perkins in terms of learning the evidence that the state has against him, also trying to convince the court to set bail and that evidence doesn't rise to the proper standard, and also making arguments that, due to, certain things in his life, he's not a flight risk and that he should be out on bail and that he shouldn't be held without bail. But it is very important in the bigger scheme of learning all the evidence. Every witness that testifies, they're under oath, and they might be later called at the actual trial. So as a defense attorney, any opportunity you get to speak to witnesses who either hurt or help your client is very, very helpful, because not only does his attorney want to get him bail, but he also wants to make sure that, he has a great shot at winning the trial if it actually goes to trial.
So this is, in a sense, the defense, in this case, it's attorney Calcagni. It's his chance to kind of get a preview of what he would be looking at in as far as the defense is concerned in a potential trial.
Absolutely. It's a great way for the discovery mechanism to kind of go through. You get a chance to see the witnesses, and also so you can give your client, legal advice and kind of get your game plan for if you do go to trial.
Because, and I just want to finish with, there was definitely a feeling yesterday, and even I won't say who, but another reporter said to me, I can't believe they even go through this. Like, what's the point? It's obvious they're not going to grant a bail, but that makes much more sense. You might as well see exactly what they have.
I mean, why not? If you're going to get held without bail by not going, why not take this opportunity to hear what the witnesses have to say? And it is also great for planning and the purpose of how you're going to approach the case. Are you going to go to trial on it? Is the evidence, all lining up? Are there holes in the evidence? So I think it's great for both the state and the defendant to get a preview of what's to come, and it can really help negotiations and also help try to resolve it. I mean, there's a deceased person in this, there's family members. Mr. Perkins has his, family. So there's a lot going on. So it's not just all about getting bail. Sometimes that's always the goal, and that would be what you would be fighting for. But there's also a lot of other reasons to go forward with the bail hearing.
Yesterday, they started to, you can almost see it a little bit, raising the specter that there could have been some other male in the equation. It was just hinted at. He didn't go full throttle, but he definitely tossed it out there. Stephanie, folks, it's now time for Stephanie's selection. This is a story that she has found that she thinks is interesting. And what do you have for us this week, Stephanie?
I've been kind of following, not really, but on the Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni, that lawsuit with them. So those are the two people in the film It Ends With Us. And I just kind of find it fascinating. I was fascinated in previous trials of, famous people with Johnny Depp and Amber and all of that. So this is I think it's an interesting case. I mean, the entire movie is kind of about domestic abuse and stuff like that. And here Blake Lively is claiming, sexual harassment and filed a lawsuit. And then Justin responded, and it's kind of blowing up on social media. I know they were just in federal court, and the court did warn them about, hashing this case out on social media. But I know the trial's set for next March, but it could get moved, sooner or moved past. But I do find it kind of fascinating in terms of, the two different sides, and like Blake calling out on sexual harassment and then Justin responding. And now it seems that all their families are involved, and it's, in my point of view, kind of spinning out of control. But it was interesting to see the federal judge kind of admonish both sides and having them be careful about not speaking about this.
Do you think, is it possible the judge would issue a gag order in this case?
I think it definitely is possible. I don't see them, either side, really slowing down, and they're both kind of pointing fingers at each other. But there's a lot of money. There's a $400 million countersuit against Blake Lively and her husband. And it just seems to be, the talk of Hollywood right now.
It is. I have friends in the Los Angeles area. They said it's either the second or third lead story of the local news.
Wow. Yeah.
The
and
news.
We saw Johnny Depp's trial all unfold.
Yes.
So it's fascinating and interesting. I don't do too much in the civil arena, but I do find this really fascinating.
Folks, again, it's Stephanie Murphy, Marin, Barrett, and Murphy. Stephanie, excellent job, and we'll talk to you again.
Thanks, John. Have a great day.
All right, folks, and again, you can get in touch with her at 401-228-8271, Marin, Barrett, and Murphy Law Firm. And you can also find them on both Facebook and Instagram. That's very interesting to me as someone that was sitting in court, and it was discussed as far as why are they even going through the situation with Mark Perkins. I mean, it seems, as I won't say who, but someone in the media said to me, boy, it seems so obvious he's guilty. Why do we even go through that? That does make sense. The bail hearing, and it's just a bail hearing. This is not the trial. I know some people were confused about that, but this is, folks, again, if I could, it's one of those things. I could have sat there all day, right? We know the case. It's very interesting to me how they piece it all together, but the Sanchez story really has taken over, and that's why I can't and could not be there all day. But I do want to give you the latest. And again, right now at 124, I really like Stephanie she has such an easy way of explaining things. That was a very enjoyable conversation. Now, Speaker Sakachi has spoken out regarding the situation with Representative Sanchez. And this is important, and I'm going to tell you about it in just a moment, but we want to stay on schedule. Folks, this portion of our program is brought to you by Propane Plus. Now, remember, for all your propane needs, call Propane Plus today at 401-885-4209. In Massachusetts, 508-252-3359. Propane Plus, heating and cooling. You can depend on Propane Plus. They have a great user-friendly website. You just log on at propaneplus.com, type in your zip code, residential or commercial. It's Propane Plus. Again, in Rhode Island, you can call them at 401-885-4209, or Massachusetts, 508-252-3359 for Propane Plus. Now, the latest on the Sanchez story, we did break it yesterday. And a lot of that wasn't unnoticed by people on Smith Hill, put it that way. I received a phone call yesterday. I won't say who, someone very prominent in local government who said, hey, congratulations, that was a big story for you to scoop in break. So, but I also want to get to, there's always two factions that are going on. Oh, here we go. All right, there's several things that are breaking right now. Number one, media has been invited to an opening ceremony for Foxy Village next Tuesday. So it's been delayed. When is that going to be? 11:30 next Tuesday. And then you're going to have all the various individuals there. So I think we'll plan on that. But there's some important things that are going on. Governor Mckee was supposed to have a press briefing today, 11 o'clock, regarding the fact of all the data breach of the people that had their data compromised. It was canceled at the last minute. Now, number one, whenever he lies low, the governor, whenever he's laying low, or especially if they cancel something already in motion, it flags everyone, something's up. As soon as I saw that he had canceled, I thought, okay, now it's a matter of, so this is normally what has happened. He has now learned of something that is bad news. Now he doesn't want to be available to have to answer it, so he canceled it. But let me just stay on schedule, because now I think we're learning what it is. Now, number one, Eli Sherman, Channel 12, is reporting House Speaker Joe Scacchi called the drunk driving arrest of State Rep Enrique Sanchez a serious charge, and he demanded an explanation from his fellow lawmaker. So that's big. He owes an explanation. He also said he owes not only his constituents, but this is big. The speaker is saying this is a very serious charge. It's 3 a.m. You're stopped at a red light. This is someone owes an explanation. Now, what's different about that is Speaker Scacchi is not saying that's a private matter. He's not saying that. He's like, oh no, we want an explanation on this. So it's a serious charge. Speaker Scacchi said, I'm going to let the legal process play itself out. He owes an explanation to his House colleagues and to his constituents. Sanchez has not responded to multiple requests for comment since Monday. Now, they're supposed to be in session this afternoon, so maybe he's going to say something. I'm interested to see whether or not he's also going to be active with the protests tonight. Cranston police who arrested him said he was disoriented, smelled like alcohol. He also goes to provide, there you go, here's my license, and it's a debit card. He later admitted having some liquor after they were saying to him, boy, you smell like booze. So then he did admit. So he told officers he's on his way back to Providence from a friend's house in Central Falls. Now, I've learned he was actually coming from fellow lawmaker Brandon Potter's home. We'll see whether or not he's going to answer this. But now I think we have the answer, I think, on why Governor Mckee canceled his press briefing. So we have the opening of Foxy Village next Tuesday at 11:30, February 11th. I don't know, because that's also when the Boston mayor is supposed to be in, the mayor of Boston is supposed to be on Capitol Hill. But now I think we have learned of exactly what's happening. And I want to give credit to ABC6 is the one breaking this, that OSHA is now going to investigate the Washington Bridge demolition. So we're going to get to that in just a moment. So that, to me, explains right now at 1:30 on Tuesday, to me, that explains why Governor Mckee canceled his press briefing. That explains it. But folks, right now at 1:30 on this Tuesday, I want to welcome, folks, a new sponsor, Quality Asphalt Seal Coating. Expert, affordable seal coating services protect you for years to come. Superior seal coating service, surrounding areas. This is a Rhode Island-based company. They're also an asphalt maintenance company. They'll seal coat driveways, parking lots, crack filling, pothole repair, line stripping. Can make your pavement look like new. Help keep your parking lot safe by fixing potholes, cracks. I would like to bring them along with me as I'm riding along on road patrol. Make sure your lines are bright and also directs traffic safety. They also do sports court resurfacing. You hear now a lot about pickleball or tennis, basketball, epoxy garages, patios, decorative concrete flooring, Quality Asphalt Seal Coating. Look for them on Facebook. Call Corey 401-283-9815. Now, we have had, maybe this explains you have had some damage and you need some of this done. At least call, get a free quote, Quality Asphalt Seal Coating, 401-283-9815. And especially because of the ice and the snow. So many roads have been damaged. So maybe it's fixing potholes and cracks, or maybe it's resurfacing a pickleball court or a tennis court or a basketball court or epoxy garages and patios. You want quality asphalt seal coating. Again, I share their Facebook page. Give them a call, free quote 401-283-9815. So welcome aboard our new sponsor. Now, folks, right now, OSHA to investigate Washington Bridge demolition. The Department of Labor is investigating the demolition of the Washington Bridge. This is according to Channel 6. According to the Department of Labor's Office of Public Affairs, OSHA is inspecting J.R. Vinagro Corporation and their work on the bridge demolition. As it's an open investigation, there are few details available. OSHA can only say they're looking to determine whether there are any violations of workplace safety standards. An inspection can take up to 6 months. Now, I believe this is why Rhode Island Governor Dan Mckee, this to me is why he canceled his press briefing. Because now there's twofold. If you go back to, they spent, the state was still spending all that money, millions, in destroying the bridge. But they kept building and then destroyed millions of work that had been done. And you know what's also, folks, it's really remarkable that we still don't, I don't understand it, quite frankly, but right now at 1:33 on this Tuesday, they still refuse to provide for you an answer on what happened with the bridge, and more importantly, why the bridge had to be closed. But not only that, but why did it pass inspection? They still have not answered that. That still remains a mystery. What I don't understand is it seems unimaginable. You look at what's going on the federal level, where President Trump and Elon Musk, they are boom. Forget all this ridiculous federal spending. Folks, there's many of these organizations that they don't need to just stand on their own, unaccountable for millions of dollars. Put them umbrella under another department that we have. And they're moving that way. What you see on the national level is an effort to make our government more accountable. On the local level, this to me is a perfect example. There's essentially no accountability for what happened with the bridge. No accountability for what happened with the bridge. And to date, no one has been suspended. No one has been terminated. No one has been demoted. Nothing. The Rhode Island DOT, all of their pay, vacation, time off, nothing has been affected. It's as if nothing even happened. Now, I'm also seeing Deloitte providing $5 million to cover expenses related Rhode Island data breach. Folks, that's not even a drop in the bucket for how much they grab from the state. But I would argue that the state is compromised, that they that there's no accountability, no matter what this company does, because they seem to have the right lobbyist, that they still just, all the money just keeps flowing. Now, Channel 12 is saying we're going the investigation, OSHA. News of the inspection comes one day after a video circulated on social media raised questions about the demolition of the bridge. East Providence Mayor Bob De Silva, Mr. DEI, posted a video showing a large chunk of bridge deck crashing onto a barge in the Providence River. RIDOT said what's shown is controlled demolition. So the Rhode Island DOT visited the site, determined it executed the plan perfectly, but the barge used sunk, and a small amount of the debris ended up in the river. So I don't think that does make sense. I think, if anything, it showed they needed larger barges. Now, again, admittedly, not an expert in this, but I don't know of anyone, and I'm going to talk about ice in just a moment. I don't know about anyone at this stage of the game that still has faith in Rhode Island DOT. And what I mean about that is I would actually have more faith if someone had been transferred, someone had been demoted, or someone had been terminated. You don't have any of that. So that I believe the accountability you're seeing on a national level, I am telling you, it's going to come locally, whether they like it or not. Folks, this portion of our program is brought to you by Kids Club on the Pike. Now, remember, birthday parties, before and after school programs, preschool programs, Kids Club on the Pike. They are available, private rental of an entire facility for birthday parties, other events, but also they do before and after school care, providing transportation, before and after care program for school-age children ages 5 through 12, and also preschool, half and full day program for preschool ages 3 to 5. Kids Club on the Pike. You can call them at 401-443-5336. They're right on the Cranston-Johnson line, right on off of 295. Kids Club on the Pike, and look for them. They have a fantastic Facebook page, Kids Club on the Pike. Well, folks, good afternoon. Now, regarding some of them, I played on the radio show. I think Marco Rubio actually explained things very effectively of this company, this department that they basically shut. That these people started to think that they didn't report to anyone and they were unaccountable, and they started to act as though they were just like this independent company that didn't report to government, didn't report to anyone, and just decided as if they could undermine or provide aid to whatever causes that they thought was appropriate. I would think and argue the people that want to do that, they should form a nonprofit and then they could do that, but not with our money. There has to be accountability for the taxpayer money. So I'm looking at some headlines right now. Government to buy TikTok. Trump moves to federalize social. Wealth fund will use taxpayer dollars. I'm not sure. Whoa, 10 dead in a Sweden school shooting. I was unaware of that. Boy, Sweden. I didn't think they had any. I didn't think they. I didn't think they had. I didn't even think they had guns in Sweden. That's really uncommon. School rampage. 10 dead in Sweden school shooting. As terrifying video shows gunmen prowling corridors as kids flee for their lives. Students trapped inside the school as gunshots rang out. Wow. Huh. Again, I thought Sweden is one of those countries that it's basically impossible to get a firearm. I don't know. They certainly have their own problems. But folks, when it comes to what's going on locally, I want to remind people right now at 140, we are not well served by not having representation in Washington. Now, right now, it's February 2025. So let me just check also. Channel 10, Rhode Island state lawmaker faces DUI charge. Let's see. Parade of storms set to impact southern New England. Officials set date for opening of Roxy Village. Firefighters respond to Providence Place Mall for a reported gas leak. Is that really news? New Costco location open in Foxborough. Hasbro is eyeing a potential move to Boston Seaport, according to reports. Well, that's sad, but that is Mckee postpones update of the Healthy Rhode Island relaunch. The Hasbro story, folks, what you're seeing right now is you have a governor that is not business friendly. What you're seeing, it's not something that happened overnight, but there are states, and I've talked about this. Hasbro leaving, it sets such a bad message for the rest of the state. You want companies coming in and relocating. But a problem that we have right now is you have a governor and a government. They're not business friendly. They're actually hostile to business. Governor Mckee seems to yawn when the state is named 50th, dead last as far as business friendly states. There's too many options now. One of the things with the pandemic is people learn to operate, um, from wherever they are. People don't have to be in places in person and work remotely. But as I have talked about, you don't hear anyone at the Rhode Island State House say, Florida does this, and it seems to be very popular with businesses, so we're going to implement it. You don't hear anyone at the Rhode Island State House say, Texas has this program, and businesses seem to really like it, so we're going to implement that. The Carolinas, North Carolina, South Carolina, anyone that travels to Ohio, travels to Tennessee, travels to the Carolinas, Georgia, Texas, Florida, booming. Cranes in the sky as far as you can look. You don't hear anyone in a position of authority at the Rhode Island State House say, I think we should implement this because this would be more business friendly. You don't have that. Everything is geared towards organized labor. Everything is geared towards special interest. As a result of that, private sector jobs, private businesses, folks, they find it very difficult, if not impossible, to do business with the state. And as a result of that, is Hasbro leaving? I would argue they're fleeing is what they're doing. And Massachusetts is also scrambling. It's the Northeast. There are many companies that are saying we don't need to be there. We're going to move to Texas. We're going to move to Texas and have brand new headquarters, and the living conditions and the quality of life is first rate. We don't need this. We don't need. As I had mentioned about Hasbro, I thought one of the most damaging statements was the State House saying, we noticed they didn't hire a lobbyist. And Hasbro saying, well, we're negotiating with the governor of Massachusetts, the mayor of Boston, and we're not using a lobbyist. Why do we have to use a lobbyist? In Rhode Island, the lobbyist is saying, contacting Hasbro, saying, oh, you got to hire a lobbyist. And Hasbro was saying, why do we have to hire a lobbyist? And then the lobbyist saying, because you got to throw them a fundraiser. You have to throw the governor a fundraiser. You have to throw the Senate president a fundraiser. You have to throw, in other words, you have to give them a cut of the action. Folks, Hasbro is saying, we're not dealing with that. The seaport in Boston is just, it's like a boom. It's expanding. It's exciting. There's all new building. People are moving there. It's a different atmosphere. And I spoke with someone recently that was visiting someone that's got a brand new condo right at the seaport area. And they said, oh my God, everything is brand new and it looks fantastic. And people are living there and working there. And then that person had to make the drive back to Rhode Island. And you go back to when Hasbro started to say we weren't thrilled with Pawtucket. They were told, no, you got to stay in Pawtucket. And Hasbro was deciding maybe we don't have to stay in Pawtucket. Maybe we're going to move to Boston. And now it is being reported where they're moving. And it does seem to be right in the South. And that's problematic because, CVS has one foot out the door. Hasbro now would be making the break like we tried. Folks, you can't just stand there and watch. I get the whole feel that people felt the Paw Sox, baseball's on the decline and blah, blah, blah. But it's what they went through. And the Paw Sox owners were pretty vocal that they found the Rhode Island elected leaders very, very difficult to deal with. Folks, this portion of our program is brought to you by Modern Mechanical. Now, I did get an email. I have to find out how it went. Right now, on this Tuesday, What does Modern Mechanical do? Well, first of all, you can call them at 401 441 5442. Modern Mechanical. They do boiler repair and maintenance. They could install a new boiler for you or furnace repair and maintenance. As you're listening on this Tuesday, if you're having a problem with your boiler or your furnace or heater repair and maintenance, water heater installation, Modern Mechanical. Call Richard and his crew 401 441 5442. Remember, boiler installation, boiler repair and maintenance. You want to make sure your heating unit is working as efficiently as possible. Furnace repair and maintenance, heater installation, heater repair and maintenance, Modern Mechanical. Call them 401 441 5442. They're right on Jefferson Boulevard, which is centrally located. It's Modern Mechanical. Now, Lisa sent me a message. Lisa is thinking of having some branches trimmed and asked me who's the company that I recommend. JD Lawn Care and Tree Service, Lisa. Call them. They'll trim those branches. 401 441 0154. 401 441 0154. JD Lawn Care and Tree Service. Well, folks, at 148, again, this is the real news. Now, we are going to be active later. Make sure you follow the page. I think, though, what you're seeing right now in Rhode Island, as far as our representatives, for instance, Seth Magazine or Gabe Amo, they're going full blast. That they're going to, and Senator, same thing with Senator Whitehouse. They're going to be the resistance. They're going to fight the Trump administration at every turn, especially Seth Magaziner. He's really, kind of feeling his juice right now. He feels good about that. This is going to be, over the next year, a pivotal time for the Rhode Island Republican Party to make gains. This next election coming up, the election of, now it's 26. The election in 26 is going to be for governor. The election in 26 is going to be all of the state house, all the local reps and state senators. It's also going to be Congressman Seth Magaziner. It's going to be Congressman Gabe Amo. This is going to be a pivotal time. The state of Rhode Island, this also, Senator Reed's seat is going to be up, but I think he'll face token opposition. Rhode Island needs to start to make gains in the House. Rhode Island needs a representative in Washington. Rhode Island needs to have, and same thing with Mass, needs to have someone with the other party. Now, 26 is also going to be interesting because the mayor of Boston is up, Mayor Wu. But then you just have Governor Healy is up, the governor of Massachusetts. And a race that I think is going to be interesting is going to be if former Governor Baker, if he actually makes a run and goes after Senator Mckee. And that could happen because Baker knows how to win. He's won in Rhode Island, won in Massachusetts. He was left very, very popular. Our part of the country, we have to start to turn the tide. The state, both Rhode Island, Mass, Connecticut, there has to be some representation. Because, folks, I hear from all of you right now, there's no one that is vocal. Rhode Island could use a Republican governor. Rhode Island, what you're looking at right now is the path of Mckee and Matos is not the path forward. Rhode Island needs some more balance at the State House. This path, this form of government, it's not working, and it's not going to work. The state is not going to receive all this federal money, all of the federal spending. I'm telling you right now, it's going to be greatly reduced, and they're not even trying. They're not even trying to reduce the spending. Folks, this portion of the program, if you've been thinking of maybe you want to redesign part of your home, Arch Design Builders. They specialize in residential design. The great team workmanship, Eddie and Roxanne, Arch Design Builders. They complement each other. Give them a call, free quote, 401 207 4124. On this Tuesday, have you been thinking, maybe you're thinking of new kitchen? you want to redo a bathroom or your basement or deck or a special project, Arch Design Builders. I'm hearing from more and more people that instead of moving, they want to just renovate and do some special projects in their home. Folks, call, set up that meeting, set up that free consultation. Let's show them the space and see what they can come up with. Arch Design Builders, 401 207 4124. 401 207 4124. I also share both their Facebook and Instagram pages, which are just spectacular. Arch Design Builders. Well, folks, good afternoon on this Tuesday. So you are seeing Los Angeles right now is really becoming the center of a lot of the resistance to ICE and a lot of the protests. It is going to spread. It's not your imagination. On this Tuesday, February 4th, I think there's definitely an air of uncertainty that's out there. There's people, it's an unsettled time. People are not sure what's to think, what's happening. I think though people they like the approach so far that the president is they like the approach that the president is taking. And the president, by the way, is very aggressive in his first 100 days, which I think also kind of makes sense because the expectation is there. The president has served. They're looking to make fundamental changes the way the country is run, the safety of the country, who comes into the country. And I think we have to, in our part of the country, whether it is Rhode Island or Massachusetts, there has to be a reckoning the way that things have been operating. And I think the mayor of Boston, now again, I recognize a lot of people would say they should call the mayor of Providence or they should call the mayor of Pawtucket. You have to remember the big cities that they're talking about are Denver operates as a sanctuary city, Chicago operates as a sanctuary city, Boston operates as a sanctuary city, New York City. Now, Los Angeles is also there, that Bass. They seem to also not be going after her because she's dealing with the fires right now, but they also operate that way. And California operates that way. But folks, what I think could be very powerful and useful would be the mayor of Boston. Her, I believe, saying she will be going to Washington next Tuesday, and that she is, in fact, let her have to sit there and answer questions why she encourages police and basically forbids them from cooperating with ICE. So, because you have to understand, it's the bigger fish they're after. I'm not saying, listen, Central Falls definitely has a problem. In Massachusetts, just outside of Boston, there are cities that operate as sanctuary cities. Lawrence is one of them. Revere is another one that they shouldn't be operating that way. Natick is one, but they want to go with the most high profile. I'm telling you, a lot of these progressive mayors, when they see the mayor of Boston be summoned to DC and be forced to answer many of these questions and policies that they enact, I think that that's going to have a very powerful effect. I do. I think it's going to be a real wake-up call when some of these mayors start to see that you have a progressive Democrat mayor who has decided they're going to make up the rules as they see fit, that don't fall in line with what the policies of the country are. What I like what the Trump administration is doing, and folks, you look at two completely different styles of governing. President Trump is saying to Canada and Mexico, you don't understand. I want the fentanyl stopped coming into this country. It's coming in from China. It's coming in from Mexico. It's coming in from Canada. What part of this don't you understand? I want the fentanyl to stop. You're killing all these Americans. Folks, you have the president saying we're going to stop it from coming in. You have Governor Mckee saying we're opening a safe injection site and teaching people how they can responsibly manage their drug habit. You tell me what's going to be more effective. Right now, what I don't hear anyone talking about is our system of government, which is huge spending and way too big government. And there's way too many employees. And there's overlap in so many different departments. And you have state regulations, and then you have city and town regulations. And it's all just ridiculous. It's way too much government. They couldn't even open this stupid Pallet Village on time. And it was their concept and their idea. I mean, it's embarrassing is what it is. But they're going to be in stark contrast. That it can't be so difficult to do business in the state, or people will go elsewhere. Folks, this portion of the program is brought to you by Watson Materials. Remember, the most complete selection of landscape materials in Rhode Island is Watson Materials. Call them, request a quote, 401-885-0600. Whether it's landscape lighting, pavers, retaining walls, natural stone, cobblestone, Watson Materials. Look for them on Facebook, and they're also online at watsonmulch.com. Watson Materials. Well, folks, good afternoon. 1:58 on this Tuesday. I thought it was very helpful having Stephanie Murphy on. And no, I don't think Mark Pork, I don't think he's going to make bail, but it is interesting for the state also to get a chance to try out some of their case. I also want to remind you folks, right now, we will be live later on. Road Patrol, this could end up good or it could end up being kind of quiet, but I think this afternoon, this could be explosive. But I want to remind you right now, if you're in the car and you're riding along and you're listening and you're on Mendon Road, pop in and see Marie at It's My Health, 1099 Mendon Road in Cumberland. That historic white church, It's My Health. They have the flag outside, inside, everything dedicated to keeping you healthy and your family healthy. Stop in and see this remarkable retailer. It's My Health, my favorite small business on Mendon Road in Cumberland. She has something that you want or need or would like. It's My Health. Folks, if you are listening to the radio, I want you to stay tuned for the 2 o'clock news. We're back on the radio tomorrow at 11. If you're watching, we are going to be active later with Road Patrol Live. I assure you that. Stay tuned for the 2 o'clock news. Everybody on Facebook and everything else, we'll see you later on Road Patrol Live.